Okay. Hope I'm visible at least for the initial part. Looks like there's about 13 of us here. So first off, everyone, thank you so much. Sorry we started a bit late. I just want to, we have about a 45-minute sort of presentation today. But first off, thank you all for coming up here on a Sunday. The response to the Instagram ad was quite incredible. There's a lot of folks who did text that say they'll join through the call and so on. So let's wait for them. But again, I want to thank you all for being here. And let's get straight to what we have. Now, there is a deck that I will be presenting that consists of, it's just there for you to have an idea. Mostly, I would ask you to mostly focus to what I'm saying, as that's just there for talking points. Let me just put up the screen. Okay, let me just put this up first. Okay, hope this is visible. Okay, just checking with everyone that this is visible to everyone. Okay, I wouldn't know.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Okay, so first off, thanks, guys. That I hope it must have taken some silly courage to come up with something and risk being seen as foolish. So either this is going to be an interesting hour for you guys, where it's just someone's interesting idea, or it may be the start of something big. I'm a huge optimist. So before I get into everything, I just want to kind of introduce myself. So my name is Raj. I'm based in Bangalore, like I'm guessing most of you are, since the ads were targeting only Bangalore. I'm about 36 years old. I have been here since 1994. I started my career at Google in Hyderabad as an advertising guy, then had a startup for about 6 years in Bangalore and a few other cities, delivered cigarettes and so on, until, of course, Zepto, Swiggy, and Blinkit knocked me out of the market. And currently, I'm promoting a food restaurant brand. But that's kind of the corporate, that work side of me. The other side is that, as in I'm 36 now, about 10 years ago when I was 26, I kind of got my calling, which was that get out of the rat race, make some money, and try to reduce as much suffering and misery as possible. So you maybe come up with some NGOs, come up with some organizations, strike poverty, hunger, lack of education, and kind of attack all of these. However, the idea was always that, listen, the world is such a complex place and so many problems that we are probably not going to see peace or such a beautiful world maybe 500,000 years. So my role is more of a military guy. Like, you come here, do your job. You are not going to see it and you're going to pass away. But you at least do enough so that when a war has to be won 500 years later, you've made your contribution and that's successful. So this is where I was for several years, and I was worrying more and more about how the system looks to be really, unfixable, until about a year or so ago when this whole Utopia thing kind of came to mind. It's still, of course, a work in progress, and like I've said to a few of you, one person's mind is simply not enough to kind of do such a large-scale thing. So my goal here today is to just present what I have. Hope you guys, that three-step plan I've been talking about. Let me kind of run that through. And by the end of it, we will have a quick final 5-10 minutes. But my expectation is that you guys go back, give this some thought of what you've heard, and maybe you would kind of then see whether you wish to join me on this or not. Quickly, before we get to it, questions, I would request you to write it on the side, and maybe we have that in the chat later, or I address them towards the end. Couple of other things. My style of speaking is maybe sometimes fast, so I'm going to try to slow myself down, but it's usually to the point. I don't, say very large anecdotes or stories to make a single point. So that's kind of how I go. The last thing I would request is everybody, the secret to happiness is keeping very low expectations. So I would hope you keep your expectations low here, and let's get straight to business. Okay. Once in a while I'll switch back because I won't have an idea of the of the chat, so I'll just switch back once in a while. But okay, so contents, 30 to 45 minutes. You don't have to read through all of these, but I've tried to put this in a way that can kind of put the whole picture together, state the problem, find out who's the culprit, what a utopia could look like, bunch of other things. You'll see, of course, three-step plan. That's the major thing. That's what I'm hoping to land with a smash today. So let's see how it goes, fingers crossed. But let me get to the problem statement straight away. Okay, When we look at, I think some of you may have seen posts in on our Instagram profile, R as in mine. Currently, World Utopia Party has a membership of one. But essentially, the problem statement I've said is simply the combination of every single problem that has existed on Earth that every person is feeling. That is our problem. It is not just poverty or hunger or so many different things. It is literally every single one of them. And the worst part is just how many humans have come and gone, and what percentage of them have never really had a good life to have. So I call them a certain thing, and that is called the SST class. This is just my theories and definitions. Suffering, struggling, or trapped. So either you're right at the bottom where you're in poverty, you're in Syria, you're in Gaza, you're having a horrible time. Those we know those. So I'm assuming all of you are a little advanced, so I'm not going to break down into the stories of what the suffering is, but you guys know war, poverty, and so on. The second is struggling. So that would be people who are slightly more up on that financial ladder, but still are really, really, there are maids, there's bill to bill, and there's the jobs are like a security guard, right? It's a dignified job, but it's not really the best use or the best opportunity of that person's life. And the third is trapped. You guys may have heard those statistics that, if you earn 25,000 or 40,000 rupees or something a month, you're probably in the top 7, 8, 10% of India. So there are people, youngsters or folks who come from villages, get a tech job, are paid 40, 50K, finally reach the city of Bangalore, but these people are trapped, right? They're sending money back home. They'll go to malls and watch people around them having experiences they can never really have. They can't buy the shoes, they can't buy the expensive food, they can't go out for the great movies or theaters. So they're kind of trapped throughout their lives to lead this. Maybe when they're 50 and 60 years old, finally they've saved up for an international vacation. But I'm putting all of these people into the class that is called the SST class. And my assertion is, unfortunately, at least 80% of all humans who have ever lived have lived in this class, possibly 90, right? That's what the statistics tell us. It's not just that it's that these people are of now, right? There's 8 billion of us, and we know that 80% of practically every country is in that middle class or lower who are just one step away. It's also the fact that in the past, you think about the times of kings and ministers, right? The king was great, his ministers were great, but what happened to all the 90% of the peasants, right? They were the ones who didn't have the money, who were going off to war and getting killed. So it's always been this way. Slightly better now, but it still remains 80% of every country, more or less, on the planet. And of course, the worry here is the future, right? 6 billion people today are going through struggles and everything. We're not counting the hundreds of billions of people who will come, 80% of whose lives are guaranteed to go through poverty. So they're not even born yet, but they're going to go through hell. So this is the problem. It's not just us now, it's the past, and it's the people who are going to come. And the final bit of it is, of course, that, when I got into this, I was aware that the scale of the problem is pretty impossible, right? You feed like 100 kids, next day 500 are hungry. But I thought that's something we can work against. What kind of most of you know as well is the system is also built in such a way that while it's not alive, it seems to almost stop all good efforts, right? You do something good, there's some corruption somewhere, and the impact is reduced. So it's the system itself is almost actively working against this. So the overall problem statement, again, coming to it, is not only have most people struggled, suffered, or been trapped, very few people have had the opportunity to enjoy what it is to be human, right? You would love to have a nice house. You would love to go out and watch a beautiful theater. You would love to watch a great comedian. You'd love to go eat at a 5-star, 4-star. You'd like to chill in your room, have the AC on, be with your family, and what. Most of India and most of the world will never see this at a young age. So that's what I find is the problem with our world, as it has always been. I'm going to take a quick one more thing here, which is not something we will discuss today. If you think about the animal kingdom, the bird kingdom, the insect kingdom, it is even worse. Every animal's food is another animal, and it's not like they cook them or they hunt them down in a decent manner. It's always a hunt, a chase, and eating alive in front of family. This is every meal of almost all animals every single day, billions of times. Insects as well. So if you were to be an alien outside of Earth and you had a kind of a radio or something to hear what's going on, you would hear bloody screams all the time, every time. Humans at least doing slightly better. So anyhow, this is the only negative side of today, guys. I'm an optimist, so I just had to bring this up. But let's go find the root of the problem. Okay. there are always multiple causes to every single problem: people, past, records, and so on. What I feel is that when you say root, you mean that if you hold this as the root of the problem, it should be the root of all the problems. Can we say, right? Money is the root of all problems. So the root of all problems must mean that if you state that problem, you can say one of its causes is this root. All right. And the answer, which all of us again know, is the system. Right. I can talk about, for example, why so many kirana shops just got completely damaged and removed in the last 3 years. Hundreds and thousands of families simply lost it. Why? Because Zepto and Blinkit did well. But that's a systemic thing. No one's going to go after them. That's not illegal. That is just the system, right? There are cases where in the 2008 financial crisis, that was caused by the greed of people, by a bunch of different problems. But one of the causes will always be that the system was this way, such that it was an incentive for those folks to go out there and do the whatever financial hassles they were, and they weren't responsible for those who were going to lose out, the homeowners and blah blah, that which caused the 2008 crisis. To give you an idea of what I mean by the system, I simply mean every single thing in the world just minus us. So you picture Earth, all the satellites, all our history, our records, our laws, our politics, our medicines, our everything, our paintings, everything of that is the world, minus us is what the system is. I'm identifying this entire thing as one. And if you look at even horrible things like murders, rapes, and so on, you will find one of the causes always that our system is like this. So if that is the root of every problem, maybe if we attack this, we have a chance, which is obviously impossible. Now let's get to something brighter. What a utopia would look like. This is, you'll come to the end of this meeting and understand that this is not something human minds can comprehend fully. I will explain later why, but we can have an idea of what utopia is. Let me just take a quick check on, okay, everyone's, okay. So when I look at a utopia as a utopian society that I'm talking about that will happen in 5-10 years, I'm talking firstly about the complete elimination of all of our negatives. That is the end of wars, poverty, crime, hunger, the mental ones too, insecurity, depression, anxiety, which comes from society, your abuse, your domestic abuse, every single one, environmental damage, animal abuse, the end of all of this, and permanently. That's one. Number two, this is a fanciful one. The world is united as a single nation, and it is built on principles of love and the infinite expansion of human spirit. Now, this is something we will go through further, but we are currently in a system where there are 200 plus countries. Each country is fighting each other for resources and has its own interests. There is no chance this can work. This is a divide and rule. Such a system will never lead to overall utopia for everybody. So we need a single nation at some point. We'll get to that. Principles, of course, love and compassion and togetherness and community. The infinite expansion of human spirit is a very important thing. Basically, what I was talking about, which is theater, art, business, hard work, science, religion, spirituality. These are things that have so far been reserved only for those who have money and then disposable income and disposable time. We want every single human in the world to be able to get all of these things, whatever they want at whatever point in time. This is a very important one. Every single human lives in lifelong luxury. I am not accepting anything less. We have enough resources. If you took all 8 billion people on the planet and gave them a 10,000 square foot plot of garden with a mansion on top, the total amount of the worldwide usable land that you're using up for all these 8 billion homes is 3% of the land, right? There is tremendous inefficiencies in the system. We all know that. But all I ask, what we want is every single human has a base of lifelong luxury. This is not communism or all those half-baked ideas. This is lifelong luxury. Next, we'll come to, if we are all chilling and having a luxury, then of course something has to be managing all manual labor, all the tasks to maintain the world and to keep improving it. That would be, what happens if all the humans stop working, right? The world runs on human labor, basically. So if we stop working, the sewage plants will stop, the plumbing stuff will stop, electricity will fail, nuclear plants will fall. You can imagine the sort of collapse. So there has to be a much, much better system that's running all of this perfectly, if not better than us. This is one of my favorites. This is what Gen Z and others, millennials as well, have been saying. No one has to work, and I've capitalized that because you have a choice. There is probably no concept of money. So you can travel, do all of that. But this is, I'm guessing, one of the bases. We are ultimately apes, guys. We shouldn't be waking up and doing all this. We should be waking up and deciding, okay, what's the next fun stuff I can do, or productive or something. Okay, so it boils down to two things. What a utopia would look like is the complete removal of negatives, which I've listed. On the second hand, it would be the creation of a brilliantly designed positive societal system. What I mean is, if none of us have to work, there's no struggles. Everyone asks me, Raj, but we're just going to be bored as hell. And I'm like, that's half utopia. A utopia is where something has designed such a brilliant societal system that we are all, if you want to travel, there's a simple 1, 2, 3 step, you can do it. You want to work on a business, go. You want to do science research, go. You want to relax and listen to some music, there's a way to do that. So societal structure that now consists of schools and bureaucracy and whatnot will change, but it'll be something that brings out and allows us to choose all these things. Okay, so this is a very fanciful utopia. This is not unrealistic in the sense that there's flying deer and flying elephants, but this is, at least we can have this, and this is what I'm hoping we get to. Okay. Before we get to any more further, guys, this is a perspective. I just call it sand and silicon, which is that if you imagine the Empire State Building, which was being built back in 1930, before computers and everything, if you met the construction owner and you asked him, man, how are you doing this? He would say, I have a team of people who are in civil engineering, math, physics, and so on. And they have calculated down to the whatever they could, everything possible so the building doesn't fall or have weak foundations or swing in wind, which happens with tall buildings. So there's a massive team of people who've been working on that. Now, if I tell that person, listen, there's a pile of sand there. In that pile of sand lies the intelligence, that is silicon, which will power phones in everyone's hands, supercomputers, rockets to space. Just that sand is basically the intelligence. He'll say, I mean, great man, but I don't see how to convert sand. The point I'm bringing this up is when I present this plan to you, it's very easy to look at the sand and say, this isn't going to work, right? Any fifth grader can tell me that. The reason how we got that sand into transistors and electronics and all of that was millions of dollars, thousands of people, multiple companies, all those Intel founders, Bob Noyce and gang who made the first transistors, all the people over 40 years to create this out of that sand, the silicon wafers and everything. So basically, it's very easy to disprove what we have, but what I'm asking for today is the intellectual challenge is try to make it or try to see if this can work. That's where obviously the great intellect and mental work will go in, but that's just perspective. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask a simple question to you all. I may not be able to get an answer, so we'll kind of nod in agreement if we agree. I'm phrasing this question. This is a question that I'm just going to ask and we move on, but it's kind of summarizing everything if we can. It also is something I believe is one thing that everyone can agree upon, which till date has been impossible. No, there's nothing that all 8 billion of us can agree upon. We're trying to construct something because that's important to the plan. But here's the question. It's not written here. Now, it's 2026 July. If 10 years from today, and I'm asking this individually to you all, you open your newspaper or your phone headlines and you see that the governments of the world, all 200 countries, have come together and they announced that, listen, several years ago, some of the brightest and best minds of the world came together and created a super intelligence. That intelligence did all the millions of simulations required to create a utopian society structure for the whole globe. We've tested, verified for the last 7-8 years, all this was going on in the background, and it got tested and successful. What it offers to every human is utopia, which is your life and everyone else's life has 10,000x luxury, whatever you want to do. Like I said, religion, spirituality, creativity, work, research, whatever, fun, happiness, family, love, do whatever you want. All you have to do is that when this happens 10 years from now, you will get a chance to verify this to your own satisfaction. And the question comes today, if you are able to verify that this is indeed true, would you vote for this 10 years later? Okay. It's a futuristic question. It's 10 years away. After this, I don't need anything else from these people. Simply telling me 10 years later, everything for everyone is happy, all the wars and everything done. You have luxury, travel, whatever you want. And you can verify that this is true. Would you then vote for this 10 years from now if there was a global vote across the world? And now this is a question you can maybe think about. I can't ask you for the answer now. My assumption is, and I've asked this to friends, I've asked this to people, I think most people, depending at what time you ask them, will answer yes to this question, so long as they can verify this. Everyone is like, Raj, at least I can verify. I'm like, yeah, that's in the question. So people have to kind of do that, but that's the basic. Would you vote for this 10 years later? Tell me now. Okay. Uh, Now we come to 5 core philosophies. We're coming towards the 3-step plan, guys. Let me just check once if anyone has. Okay, I think there's vitamins. Sorry. Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Aniket. So we will obviously, like I've said, this Utopia party needs a founding committee. I'm one member. Whoever joins after this will, and there's a lot of work to do. But we're like, hopefully, some of you do. Okay. Sorry, this is taking long. Another 15 minutes. I think we should be done with this. Before I get to the 3-step plan, I need you to briefly go through these 5 core philosophies. They can be challenges, but just to kind of get them through your mind, because it's important to set the context to therefore understand the 3-step plan, because that's obviously what I'm putting all my cookies into. Okay. So, number 1, what is a 100 on 100 solution? Now, we have already discussed. Now, to me, a 100 on 100 solution is something that, like we have said already, it removes to all the negatives we've spoken about. It is replaced by a continuously positive setup for all 8 billion people. And most importantly, it is fast, right? I can't say, listen, guys, give me some time. 5,000 years later, we'll have Utopia. No one's going to pay attention. This has to be possible within 5-10 years. Only then is it a 100 on 100 solution. Now, I'll give you an example of what is not 100. Let's say I go out and I manage to feed a few people. I kind of help against the hunger problem. If I go out and create a solution tomorrow, Raj has solved hunger in India. That is one of the greatest human achievements in history, bar none. And I will probably get 10 Nobel Prizes for that, right? That's such an impressive thing. But then when you look at it on our 100 on 100 scale, it is just hunger, one of the war, poverty, all those hundreds of negatives. It is only in India, not in the other countries. And okay, it was fast, fair enough. But if you have to rate such an extraordinary accomplishment, it would still be a 1 out of 100, 2 out of 100, right? If you look at the greatest individuals who have come on this planet, I'm not going to name, but there have been extraordinary humans who we know who are much greater impact on humanity than we have. And while we respect and give them everything they have, even they, you still look at the world today, all the poverty, everything, no one has ever come close to a 100 on 100 because it was always impossible. But I'm just defining what a 100 on 100 is. It is removal of all negatives, replaced by a beautiful positive system, and done very, very fast. Okay. Okay. Second thing to kind of really understand, because this is very, very critical, guys. All of us in this room today are very smart. Einstein may have been slightly smarter than all of us by IQ, maybe 20-30%. But all humans have 3 or 4-digit calculator brains. None of us have more than that. What I mean to say is, we are the way our memory is, right? If I give you a 12 plus 17 or 12 plus 13, you can do it, right? 2-digit, your math works. If I increase that to a carry, like 46 plus 57, now there's an extra bit that is used in your mind. It's there. But if I start going into 354 plus 976 and all, the brain starts struggling. Why? Because it doesn't have so many memory slots, and its processing power is one thing per. Like I can only do one calculation per thing. And so processing analysis is slow. Number of things you can process. If I make this 4 or 5 digits, no one's going to be able to calculate that unless they have tricks. A similar way to say this is, let's say there are 3 of us who are going to a movie, A, B, and C. A does not want to sit next to C. B wants to sit in the middle. C wants to sit on the right side. So your alignment is ABC. That's easy for us to do. If I gave you one of those old math problems where there's 10 people sitting at a dinner table and all of them have some issue. I don't want to sit next to that person. I want to sit next to that person. I want to be near the toilet. I want to come late. If you have 5 conditions from each person and 10 people to seat, and I give this to you as a problem, firstly, none of us can do that mentally. Our brains just cannot do that. But even if we have paper and pencil, it's still going to take 15 minutes to plan out who sits where, such that trial and error, all of this works out. What I'm trying to say is we have extraordinary abilities. Our bodies can process billions of things that are going on right now. Somehow our experiential or conscious ability is just this. So when I say, can anyone today understand what a utopia is or what the current system is, I'm saying there is no human on the planet who's even 0.001% has the brain required to understand all the events, all the laws, everything. There is no one who can do that, right? It's just not possible for us. Okay, so this concept is my theory again, guys. I'm not a scientist, but I'm just kind of trying to tell us all that listen, our brains are great, and it was the maximum that was possible today. But now we know something has come in that's not a 3-digit calculator, right? Something has come that's a trillion-digit calculator. Anyhow, this is a very third important concept. You may have seen this. This is called the trillion wires mess. So to explain this, let's imagine there are 8 billion computers. Basically, that's us. They're all in a circle. Guys, this is the best image I could get out of ChatGPT, so forgive the image. And all of these are connected by wires, but the wires have been put up chaotically over time. So you can imagine like just filled with wires, just like a horrifying mess. If you ever had wired earphones, right? Just two wires, you put it in your pocket. The moment you pick it out, there's like 15 knots in it, right? So imagine what this would be. So this is kind of, again, what I'm showing as our system. We have, now if you look at the wires, because of the amount in there's electrical short circuits, there's fires, some computers are not working. Any new computer you put in here is guaranteed to almost 80% of the time, fail. So the question I gave AI and the question we have again is, can you untangle that? And it's actually trillion wires, guys. It's not 5 computers. There is 8 billion people, and what connects us is so many different things. So if you see them as wires, this is the great, it's like a wire monster. And now if I ask someone, can you fix this? You are never going to be able to untangle it because the brain can't, you will pull one side and fix and one more side is going to burn. If you put AI with cameras and asked it to look and identify and create an algorithm of which wire to pull first, all good. But if you're going to sit and pull one by one, it's going to take about 10,000 years to pull and fix this back. Okay. So the only way, there is no other solution. This is according to me, guys. You can do small things, and people across the world, such amazing people are doing so much incremental, save, poverty here, hunger there, education here, and thank God for those people. But none of that is going to stop this. And that's something we should acknowledge. The only way to stop this, and this is just a fun, mental thing, is you have to cut the wire at the source of all the computers. So you tell everyone on planet Earth, hey guys, get ready, snip it off altogether, 1, 2, 3, snip. And what happens? The entire wire mesh itself just collapses because it's no longer connected to us, right? This is done. Now, obviously, there's a transition period because all of us are going to switch off or die. So we have to figure that out. That's part of the plan. But then what you should have done by this time, if you're a good planner, is you should have already planned out, okay, I have 8 billion computers. I need a perfectly optimized wire system so that even if another 8 billion come in, they come in easily, disasters can be managed. So once you have removed it, you move here where you connect everyone back into the proper system. Okay. Lovely images and so on, but this is a trillion wires mess. So I'm just trying to say the only way we can change the system is we can't change it from the inside. That is impossible. The only way to change this is by snipping it out and putting something new. All of us know system change is impossible, but there's no other choice, unfortunately, if we want utopia soon. Okay. This is the fourth. I'm coming to the end of the philosophies. We'll get to the 3 steps. Sorry, it's taken so long. This is another important concept, guys. On the left, you'll see a system of pipes where the pipe itself has tar and toxin and red colors and whatever it is. On the right, there's a clean system. The idea is that the water you're pouring in is always pure, transparent, but no matter what happens, it's going to come out and be colored, discolored and impure on the left because of the pipe. And on the right, if you have a clean pipe, it's always going to be pure when it comes out. The idea here is that our world today, my theory, I don't know if everyone would share this, is 90% to 99% of the evils and all the problems in the world are because the system is this way and we are being born as newborn babies here. I don't believe there's a single baby that's a murderer or a rapist or a corrupt person. I think that's nonsense. But once the baby from age 0 here, only out of the womb, it joins and it's into the system and it comes out here. This is age 4, guys. Once, most of us, I think, agree that we kind of got conscious at age 3 or 4. Until then, there are about 50 events a day, right? Someone dropped you, someone scratched, and, all these things happen. There's about 80,000 events that happen in your life that contribute to who you are by the time you're 4 years old, right? So this is kind of my thing for why most of the evils happen is because you're conditioned already by all the rubbish in the system, and most of us will come out flawed. But that's not because humans are flawed. That's because the system is flawed. My assertion is if you had a beautiful system and kids were born into this, you are going to get beautiful humans. And that's what you see, right? You see such amazing human beings around us who typically, they come through a difficult system. but you will see that sort of very nice, great people. That's possible for everybody, so long as you have a clean system. Uh, okay, just another metaphor for what I think our utopia can do. Quick one last here, very quick disclaimers just to keep in mind. The system we are in today is very brittle and it must not be shaken, right? If I start this utopia movement and I tell everyone to jump on the streets and start protesting, the entire system is going to collapse. All of us are going to die of starvation, lack of heat, and hunger, right? All of us, not just the rich. So the idea is that when we push this movement someday, one of the core learning is, guys, do not shake the system. This is not a protest out there. We're not going to use those techniques. So this is a very important part. The second is, we also know that 99% of us are too stuck in the system, right? Either you're in the SST suffering class, or you're people who have just, you've had a tough middle class life. You're now in getting money. You have dreams, ambitions, and stuff, right? So whenever you see, people doing petitions or donations, the percentage is always very low because most people are stuck in the system. They love to help, but they can't. They have an appointment, they have a kids thing to go to, they have a health thing, they have bills, they have dreams as well, right? I want to travel here and there. So our 99% of us are too stuck to do anything about this, which is one of the biggest challenges. The third is, what I will be suggesting now, this is a complementary thing. It's not that I'm asking everyone in the world to stop what they're doing and let's go do world utopia. One of the biggest part of this is this will be in addition to everything that's going on. Okay. All right. We're getting to a three-step plan. This I'll come back to. This is, if we have such a solution, 100 on 100 solution, something that is the greatest solution for humanity in history, it should have certain features. Once I give you this plan, I'm going to go through this, right? There's no need for effort. It has to be both complex and simple somehow. It has to have no need for figureheads or, no need to tell people their role, so on and so forth. We'll come back and we'll test our theory once we come back. Okay, once we come back to this. This is a very quick one. The reason why this is happening now and all the greatest philosophers and great minds in history have not come up with the utopia is, you will understand more, but it needed the digital era since 1990 with internet, smartphones, computers, Wi-Fi, social media. This was very, very important. Otherwise, this was globalization, essentially. The world was pretty unaware of the other places pre-1970, 80. To arrival of AI, until 2022, there was no concept of superintelligence. Our most intelligent was always going to be Einstein and gang. But the arrival of AI is one of the only reasons why this is possible. And therefore, I will give credit to the people who came before us that why didn't they think of utopias? Because that would not have been possible without AI. Third, and this is my favorite part, this would not have been possible without a current generation that, in my opinion, is by leaps and bounds a huge evolution over the past in terms of emotional evolution, mental, and so on, right? We have wonderful things from the past generations, but over 7,000 years of history, which is 5000 BC when we have the Sumerian first civilizational records, until now, that's 300 generations. 299 generations believed homosexuality was wrong, women were, property, child marriage was fine, black people were not equals, right? This all was believed by all 299 generations. 1970s, 80s, 60s, 90s onwards, all of these went. Today, we have one of the most evolved and brilliant generations I think is possible. We saw it with the CJP protest, right? We saw them victorious. It shows what can happen, but of course, millions of people coming in, you need a little more efficiency in that. But again, I'm really happy about the fact that the current generation is who we are. Okay, now we have come to steps to a three-step plan. This is kind of the main bit of it. I've structured this in such a way. Now it's 3 steps because, if I tell you 8 bullet list plan, your mind is going to be like, okay, hold on. But 3 is what every single mind on the planet automatically understands, right? You have to cook a dish, here's 3 steps. Every mind creates that 3-step framework and ready, no matter who you are. So that's why this is a 3-step plan. Each step of this is insanely impossible. But I just want to say one thing. The only step you, me, and the World Utopia Party has to achieve is step 1. Because step 2 and 3 will automatically, almost for sure, happen if step 1 happens. Our entire job relies only on step 1. So the way I'm going to present this is I'm going to show you step 3, 2 first to show you how impossible they are. Then I'll show you step 1, which is why they happened in the first place. And then we kind of come to the end of what is our next task. So, right. So here is where everything is lying. So let's get to this. Okay. So I'm going to describe two steps. They can be interchangeable, but these are individually impossible. But I'm going to narrate them as if they are happening or happened. I just want you to remember them, right? So step 3, this is the self-organization of our best to build. Okay. Now I've made it quite abundantly clear that if you want to create a utopian society, right, firstly, you have to understand this entire, society, all its history records, which no mind can. Let's say you fed all that into huge, data into a system. It also needs inputs of what you want that society to be, right? This society needs to have all the good things, right? It shouldn't have the wars and the poverty and the domestic abuse. What should it have? It should keep our sports, it should keep our music, it should keep our job, if we want. It should keep science, it should keep religion. Very importantly, like half the world or most of the world is religious, so people should be allowed to do that and flourish. Spirituality, music, whatever it is, sorry, you need to kind of give this input. Secondly, you have to, like what I told you were the inputs, right? It's luxury for all 8 billion people. That's an input into the system. All 8 billion of us having a society or a system that kind of works where, if someone goes out to learn piano playing, then I've chosen relaxation and we're both at the same place. Sorry, I kind of may have gotten that. But the idea is that it's a tremendous amount of calculation and simulations to create this global system that, gives everyone everything, has transitioned successfully from this old, toxic one that we are in. So that sort of calculation is impossible for us. But what I believe is that we are at some level of AI now. We think AGI is going to come somewhere. I'm talking about ASI. This is super intelligence, right? This is not something we have now. This is something that may come 5-6 years, whenever it is. What step 3 will be, and kind of to narrate this is, in step 3, the greatest minds across the world, largely across AI and tech, but also across science, arts, sport, history, and so on, the Elon Musks, the Bill Gates and all of them, they're going to self-organize. I'm not going to tell them, you're not going to tell them. You can't, right? How can we go and tell Bill Gates, this is what you need to do, Bill, right? You can't tell him that. These folks are going to self-organize with their VCs, they have the money, and they are going to build that ASI, which over the next 5-6 years is going to create that fat book you see, that is the Utopian Society Structural Blueprint. That's probably going to be trillions of pages long because it deals with everything in society, right? Everyone has contributed. So this is a very key thing that only the people who have access, only about 1% or less of the world will be involved in step 3. Most of us won't be in this, right? It will be them kind of self-organization, organizing. They will know exactly what to do. They will fund it. And we know it's a capitalistic world, so I'm not expecting Elon Musk to throw out his SpaceX and suddenly start doing Utopia. But similar to how you and all of us are going to work, where we have our own lives, but we're probably going to put a couple of hours here together as a group, these folks will figure out a self-organization where they can put a little bit of time, build the ASI that can take, we have ChatGPT, Gemini, and DeepSeek, and Grok. All of these are more or less similar in their abilities. But if all 6 companies theoretically built one, it should have been 6 to 10 times better than this. So the idea is that they're self-organizing. Nobody is telling them what to do. They build this, and then we have the system that I've been talking about, right? This utopian blueprint and whatever. So this is step 2. As you can imagine, why on earth would all these people do this by themselves? It's because of step 1. Okay. Coming to step 2, this is another impossible thing. It's separate. Now there are 200 plus countries in the world. Each has a government. About 80-90% of them run on votes, sometimes rigged and all of that. But essentially, there are 200 governments. Everyone has their own politicians, their self-interests. We know what the situation is. There is alignment of 200 governments. So like I told you at the start, right? Imagine these 200 talking to each other and saying, listen, guys, when we are going to host a global vote of all the 6 billion voting adults to vote whether we are going to put this solution in place, right? Once the ASI and the Utopia blueprint is made, I said that the government is going to give us all the choice. This has to be voted upon. It can't just be added. We will vote, and then it'll be obviously unleashed. But obviously the important step here is, how on earth do you expect 200 governments to simply for no reason just align and say, yes, we're going to do global vote at some point? This is yet another impossible step. But this is also going to happen if step one is successful. Okay. So coming to step one, and then we will revisit these two. Okay. So step one, this is the global mandate, guys. Okay. So supposed to come out slowly. Essentially, the greatest force that has never been used in where's my notes, guys? Sorry. Okay. There has been no world moving power in human history, right? If you are Prime Minister Modi or you're President Putin or one of these gentlemen, you would have worked from the time you're 20, you would have beaten all the fellow ministers, the fellow political workers, you would have won every single step to become prime minister at 60 or 65 or 55, right? You were the winner every time. And if you do that by the age of 60, having worked your entire life of politics to go and make a change, you still have only 1/200th of world moving power. You control India's power. That's it. China doesn't listen to you. Kazakhstan doesn't listen to you. So the maximum any human can ever have in terms of world moving power is 0.5%. That too, if you're the president or prime minister of a country, right? If you look at any protests we have ever had, it's the maximum we have maxed out at is 1 million, because the city can't hold more than that or something like that. Again, these are tiny percentages of the global population. Hence, these could not be world moving powers. What I'm talking about as a world movie power in theory, guys, is that there are 200 countries. The bottom 80% of all of them is our middle class or lower, right? And this is even in Finland, where you've heard like happiness index is number one. You will hear of thousands of, like if you research, you'll find thousands of strikes by unions saying our wages are not enough, we can't make enough. That's again, it's always 80% of every single place. Maybe the US 70 or something. So in every country, there are these people, the bottom 80%, who would very likely agree if we had this plan, this three-step plan was given to them, made to understand what this means. If all of them align saying, listen, we are going to vote in the future, 10 years later, when the government, they have come up with all that rubbish, we are not doing it. 10 years later, if they come up with it, we are going to vote. That's all we need. That would be 4.5 or 4 or 5 billion of, I call it, as you can see, future mini pledges, right? 4 to 5 billion people. Now, obviously, this is something that has never been done before, right? Not even close. But this is all we're going to work on, because if the bottom 80% of these 200 countries have theoretically one day agreed that, yes, we want this utopian plan, that becomes the single greatest force that has ever been wielded politically or whatever in human history. Okay. What that will do once we have this movement kind of starting, let me just kind of, yeah. Okay. So I'll give you an idea of how we would do this. Okay. Just to kind of tell you that. So this is one of my ideas, which we as a team will work on, which is you have, let's say we created a pilot app, right? This is a app that is a conversational explainer with AI. And its only job is to explain this three-step plan, because the entire plan is in the three-step plan only. It takes 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is. But this plan has to be explained by an AI that can do much better job than me. Similar to these English learning. You would have people do maybe 10, 15 minutes a day across a week or two, where they talk to it, they ask its questions. They're like, okay, so why would, what is the next step? What am I expected to do? And so on and so forth. Once you've been through that, at the ending screen, this is what we hope for. It says, if you're convinced and you will vote yes to this one day, please click confirm. And now you are officially a member of the World Utopia Party, right? The count increases +1. This person, whoever has done this, now knows for the next 10 years, I have nothing else to contribute to this. I'm busy in my life. That's all I had to do. Count goes by 1, right? This is an idea. But let's say we piloted this and suddenly we tried this with, say, 30 people. I'm seeing a corporate person, an entrepreneur, an artist, a plumber, someone who's in absolute poverty, someone who's very, very rich. All these people are going through this app and start clicking at the end, yes, because again, it's a simple question for us all, right? But if they're convinced of this plan, this count becomes our most important thing. And this is going to be kind of operated by the World Utopia Party in every single country, right? We're going to start with 200 countries having the same organization you and I are discussing today. So if all of them push this, we would soon start seeing, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, 1 million. As soon as this count hits numbers, right, this is what the world focuses upon. It will become a talked about idea. It'll start being seen like, okay, hold on, everyone's trying this app and they're agreeing to this crazy plan. And it will start growing. If that hits 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, this is the force that will change things. Okay. Now, what happens if you have, let's say this starts happening, I keep saying bottom 80%, bottom 80%. Now, obviously, when I say bottom 80%, like people who are struggling for money right now, they are much easily going to agree to a utopia futuristic vote than you, me, or anyone in this room, right? We all have had the privilege or the luck of education. So when we hear this, we're going to say, well, what if AI destroys us? What about, communism? What about these different things? But the folks who are not going to bother too much are just going to be like, wait, you're offering me utopia? Please, like, go for it. Let's go. Is going to be the bottom 80%. Of course, when you ask them is important. Once that kind of starts moving, guys, this is how you kind of have a political checkmate. The Every single politician on the planet, their first and most important thing is, how do I have to get re-elected? It's 3 years per seat. You have these guys, right? 6 times re-elected, 10 times, all those municipal seats, MP seats, and other countries as well. That is on their mind. They have 2 terms. The president has 2 terms. Now, I'm imagining that, let's say this step is successful, guys. Let's say this starts working, hundreds of millions are. This is where the magic is. We all have to make this happen. If this is working, what you're going to see is politicians start getting asked now itself that, see, 10 years from now, are you going to align and support this? Politicians are smart, right? They're not going to say no because they lose nothing to say yes. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to work for the next 10 years. All they have to say is, yeah, of course, I'd support this. Yeah, why not? It sounds like a great plan. And if it doesn't happen, great. They're just doing their lives. What I sometimes think of is a charter, right? We put up this thing online and we say, this is the list of politicians in every country who have supported the World Utopia plan. And their names are here, right? So if your name is not here, we're going to assume you don't support it. So you may have politicians falling over themselves just to put their name here. They don't have to do anything else, right? But this kind of is part of, gets us there, the political sort of support across countries, because they don't have a choice. If they say no, they are not going to get elected next cycle because the bottom 80%, the majority in their country, supports Utopia, right? So we have them just by the movement of this majority. And sorry, so this was, so now what you come to is, which was the third thing I said, right? Self-organization of the best. I told you these guys are going to put their own money. Musk is going to work with Gates, and is going to work with Nadella, is going to work with Altman, and is going to work with, like artists and like Roger Federer. Like everyone has a contribution to what that world should be. The best of us should, librarians, physicists, scientists, they should all, the very best of us should have a contribution. But why the hell would they do all of that? It's because in step one, they got the global mandate. In step two, they got a guarantee that the vote is going to happen and we will vote. What that will do is trigger these two things. One of the most incredible trait of strong or very highly intellectual minds, this is my theory, is the bigger the impact and the problem, the greater that hunger or craving to solve it, right? You give them bigger problems, they're going to lose their minds in trying to, go and solve that. That's just the nature of very, 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 those who are blessed with extraordinary IQs, right? The second is, this is the single greatest challenge in human history. And with it comes the glory of, again, so bringing in utopia once and for all for the future. So when you go to all these, all these great minds and these big, larger than life personalities, you don't even go to them. Once they see the movement happening, once they see politicians saying, yes, yes, of course, I'd support this, these folks will self-organize because they can't help themselves, because right in front of them is the single greatest problem. How do you create this ASI? And how do you create that damn blueprint of society? Right? That I can't do. I don't have AI. I don't think most of us know that side very well. That's what they will do. But we will provide the mandate and the guarantee that will push them to do it. Okay? All right. We have 5 minutes before we hit an hour. So we're kind of mostly done. Step one, global mandate created. Few billions start giving us their future many pledges. Step two, politicians, governments offer that they will do this in the future. Step three, once there is a guarantee of the vote, then they build this. At the end of it, we all have a verification, individual verification, and then we vote. Obviously, I think most of us would vote yes. I don't see why not, but the majority, right? 5 billion out of 6 billion voting adults, I feel will vary, like that's 83%. Most of the people are suffering. We will have a verification. Now, the verification in my head, quickly, I'll give you an idea, is at that stage, if it's a super intelligence, we would all have earbuds, and then you just spend 12 hours asking it every question under the sun. But if it's a super intelligence that has done trillions of calculations, then I'm pretty sure no person will be able to out-debate that, right? So it will, and if it's come back saying I've solved it, then it probably has solved, and then we vote. Okay. I showed you this before to kind of just tell you, if there is such an ideal solution, it should have these features, right? It has to be a 100 on 100 solution that is accomplished in less than 10 years. We kind of have that. It is a 100 on 100, right? The AI will create a, no wars, united land that has all these taken care of. It is complex. I'm talking about world voting and, extraordinary intelligent AI and, all those trillions of simulations and getting people together. But it is also simple. It has to be something that if I explain this plan to you, today it took 45 minutes, an hour, but we will work to kind of make this something that people can understand, 3-step plan, and then they know what is going to happen. Okay. The third, there is no need for mighty individual effort. I said again, most of us are busy. Here, all you have to do is basically, if it's an app, sure, or some other way to record, but you give your future vote basically and go back to your life. We can't ask you for anything for the next 10 years. No need to tell people their role. All billions of us are going to vote one day. We all have a role to play in this. Some people, as this movement goes on, will become leaders. Some will, musicians will make music on this. Artists will create art on this. Politicians and policymakers will work. Lawmakers will work. Everyone will understand their own role because this is a global movement. No one needs to be told, right? Which brings us to the fifth one. You do not need figureheads. I have nothing against figureheads of organizations. They are there for a reason. But the problem is, if something goes wrong with their past record, now the entire movement falls, right? So this movement, it's a simple to understand concept. We know this is the final solution. We don't really need someone who's someone who's got that sort of, he knows everything and we don't know what it is. Most of us will be able to understand this quite simply. Okay. Coming to these last few quick, glory shared for all. Again, if we succeed, guys, this is very futuristic, but we will be the generation, all 8 billion of us, who brought utopia once and for all for the world and all the hundreds of billions to come. This glory is not, it's not one person who's going to get a Nobel Prize for this. All of us, we will historically be seen as that generation that did this. I think all of us will be remembered in history. That's fun stuff. Coming to the other ones quickly, this movement will have some sort of self-fulfilling, self-propagating, kind of like a domino movement. It contains one thing everyone can agree upon. It is a complementary thing, right? You don't have to stop your NGOs, but just sign this or just, do this once and you're done. It's oh dear Lord, we have a, oh, wow. So many nice messages. Sorry, I haven't been looking. We're almost done, guys. Sorry. This has to be permanent, right? It can't be 5 years later again. Like a lot of people have said, but Raj, humanity will again go back. Firstly, you remember the glass pipe experiment? Humanity is not bad, guys. There are 1% sociopaths and psychopaths. Out of 100 criminals, only 1 or 2 are sociopaths. These are people who are programmed to feel pleasure from pain and from hurt folks. But these folks, you will have it. AI will create a different plan for them. I don't know how to deal with them. But majority, if you're a criminal who's running like a drug ring and someone comes to you and says, listen, guys, you'll have all the money in the world. Keep all your riches. Tomorrow, all your crimes are wiped out. You have all of this utopia. Just would you vote for this and stop doing all crime? Most of them would be like, yeah, I have everything and more. And now I don't have that fear of jail in the future. So again, this is something that has to be permanent. The system keeps evolving to ensure we never fall back to where we were. That system is brittle, that thing you've seen already. Okay. These guys' questions, I'll open it to you. What if AI destroys us? How would the rich, criminals, sociopaths, or different groups, religious groups, how would they respond? This idea that negative is required for positive to happen, this is a very entrenched thing in our world and through our philosophies. What I've said in the glass pipe again is that is not true. You can have pure positive, which is taught with brilliant genius techniques instead of just rudimentary, let me hit the person and create learning. That's a utopia. It's not that we need to beat up and traumatize and kill people and put them through all of this. But these are questions I can go through these, or we can deal with them later. This would be the, thanks for listening. Last one, guys. We did have some action plans. This is the World Utopia Party. If I would want you guys to ask questions now and go back and think about all of this. The work we have is we need an AI pilot, right? We don't need like a full-scale app, but we need something in AI that's like those English-speaking apps that, one day I want to run this AI that over like 2 hours, over 10 days, can speak to I give it to an electrician, I give it to a corporate worker, I give it to a race car driver. And if they all come back saying, yeah, Raj, I clicked yes, then our pilot is successful, right? So this is something we need to do. The India org, now there are so many cities. We are all here in Bangalore. This is where it begins. But we need to plan how our India org structure works. I'm just one guy, guys. So that's why all of you are here. Second is how the world organization structure works. Again, we are not running World Utopia Party in Ethiopia and so on. But we need to get similar people to us doing what we're doing here in those countries and running it similarly. So how do we do that is a task all of us will work together. Content, social media, as you've seen, I have disgustingly poor skills. So we'll need people to kind of plan and do this. There will be fundraising later after the pilot. Right now, this is volunteering, guys. No one's paying, no one's doing anything. None of us have that right now. Small expenses here and there I can put in for the AI pilot or whatever it is. But once we succeed, then obviously, if you're running an app for billions of people, it needs tremendous amount of or some good funding at the bottom or good partnerships with the companies who give you discounts because these guys are doing a good thing. So what we will do is I would request you after the questions is to DM me on the same thread. Tell me, Raj, I'm interested. This is what I do and so on. We'll work. We'll see how many of us join. We will then have a meeting where we have to basically construct or discuss how we work together. Even I don't know how many of us are going to work on this. So we kind of who's good at what and everything. And we kind of take it from there. And ultimately, thanks for listening, guys. That was a 1 hour rant. Okay, so let me just get myself off video. We can take a quick 2-minute break if folks want, or what we can do is quick questions and kind of wrap up in 5 minutes.